For the time being, though, Isabel, let's talk about the King. He's gone off on his state visit to Italy with Camilla. Don't think he could wait. He got on a plane pretty sharpish. I think he heard that Harry was flying into London. Goes, hey, Camilla, let's get out of here. Quick, quick. Ginger Nuts is coming. So old Harry is continuing his stupid, fatuous lawsuit demanding armed cop guards when he comes to Britain. Who cares whether he gets it or not? But it means a lot to him, apparently. But he's been in court. But anyway, the word on King Charles is that advisors, courtiers, who have been talking to politicians have told the King, when it comes to your green zealotry, your net zero nuttiness, Your Majesty, you better wind your neck in. The tide is changing here, and we cannot have you carrying on like this. So apparently the King has reluctantly agreed to tone down his greenery. And while he's at it, I hope William will do the same. Why did we ever allow these two royals, the King and his son, Prince William, the Prince of Wales, to become so overtly political about the issue of climate change? I mean, they're supposed to be neutral, and yet when it comes to net zero and climate change, both of them might as well join the Green Party. It's outrageous, don't you think?
Well, I'm going to give a different point of view here, which is that the King actually was one of the very earliest to bang on about this stuff.
So it's his fault. It's his fault, is it?
Well, when he started out on this theme, it was much more with a kind of conservation angle. You know, he was pretty much a pioneer on organic farming. You know, he led the way on that well before it was fashionable. And I think some aspects of what he was pushing for at the time, and we're talking 15, 20 years ago, perhaps even more, were actually pretty forward thinking. And this was all about, you know, basically making our countryside a nicer and less chemical laden place. And I can get on board with that. You know, it's not, I think we can all agree it's much nicer to have small mixed farms and a green and pleasant countryside than it is to have the opposite of that. So I don't really have a problem with that. But as you say, if it veers into net zero is a political campaign, then they shouldn't be having anything to do with that. And actually, you've got to hand it to their advisors that they are reading the room at this point. I mean, perhaps should have read the room a bit of a while ago, but public mood is changing on this pretty fast, I think.
Well, the incident or the thing that has changed the dial, apparently, was Kemi Badenoch's sort of U-turn speech saying, well, actually, we're going to row back on net zero. We think it's too expensive. We don't think it's achievable. So the Tories, they haven't quite had the guts to actually say, let's abandon all this green claptrap that is costing the poor people of this country a fortune. But they haven't quite had the guts to do that. But effectively, they've certainly dialed down their views on net zero. It was that, and of course reform, and even Labour beginning to row back. Even Keir Starmer is beginning to see that crazy Ed Miliband is going to be his passport to oblivion, that Labour can't go. So the way that the political direction, the direction of travel, is moving away from net zero, and that is why apparently the King has been told, listen, you've got to get with the programme. You cannot carry on with your overt, noisy greenery. And while we're at it, let's hope that Prince William doesn't either. I mean, you know, they're entitled to their views. I mean, I don't agree with either of them, actually. But, you know, there is a tradition about the British royalty, and we can't have the King, and indeed the heir to the throne, going round effectively waving a banner for the Green Party or the Lib Dems. That's basically what they're doing, or for that matter, Ed Miliband. It can't carry on.
I mean, I'm not actually convinced that they'll fully stop, and particularly not the King, who I keep still wanting to call Prince Charles, because that's what he'll always... Yeah. Honestly, I think that's what most of us still think of him as. Yeah. I mean, he is just so steeped in this stuff. You know, I remember many years ago when I was writing a book on on the state of farming. I actually visited Highgrove and looked at some of his farm there and some of what he's doing. And I remember seeing him, spotting him while I was doing this tour, creating this amazing, what do you call it? Hand woven fences. You know, he's really good.
Oh yeah, that thing that they do in the country. I know that.
Yeah, what do you call it? I don't know.
I know. Well, I've never been to the country. I wouldn't know.
Yeah, who knows? But anyway, you know, my point is that he is absolutely a kind of man of the earth.
No, I'm not doubting his sincerity or William's sincerity. I'm just saying that you know, in a democratic country, their political opinions shouldn't be so public because their greenery, their net zero stance is political.
Yeah, and it's not ideal, is it? But at least they've got really good advice, unlike so many others in public life, and perhaps they will wind their necks in. I just think Charles can't really help himself on this stuff.
Last word from you about Harry's case. What do you make of it? I mean, this is about his 58th time of appealing against the quite correct decision, in my view, that as a non-working royal, non-frontline royal, he no longer warrants armed police protection, automatic armed police protection. The only thing he's wasting millions of his own money on is he wants the same status as his brother. He wants automatic police gun with guns, armed cops, every time he comes to the country, either on his own or with his family. He wants it to be automatic. What the police or what the government is saying is, look, just apply to us. Let us know you're coming, and if we feel the circumstances are right, we'll give you armed police protection. But if we don't, we won't. You don't warrant automatic armed police protection. That's not good enough for him, and he's spending millions.
Not for him, is it?
And the judge keeps saying, listen, mate, it's a lost cause. The government's barrister, the Home Office barrister, said this is a case, a failure, a continuing failure to see the wood for the trees. What is he doing?
I mean, it's just so vainglorious, isn't it? I mean, does anyone really? Of course, you know, all people in public positions are targets for nutters and you know, awful potential attackers. But really, is Harry really such a, you know, tremendous terror target? You know, look at the leader of the Reform Party, Nigel Farage. He gets death threats every day, and they're really quite serious, some of them. Does he have automatic armed protection? Of course he doesn't. You know, very rarely. I don't think he ever has any armed protection. I don't know about that, but I don't think he does. I would argue that he is a much greater target for nut than Prince Harry, who, you know, if he put a cap on and, you know, put his collar up, probably no one would notice if he floated around.
I'll tell you what, Isabel, if Meghan carries on blotting him out of the picture quite like this, no one's going to recognise him in the future. But, you know, I felt sorry for him sitting in that court yesterday. I thought, what on earth are you doing? What are you doing? By the way, you know, prisons, they're all overcrowded, so we're looking for new and interesting forms of punishment. I know what to punish people with for serious crimes. Make them listen to Meghan's new podcast.
Have you done it?
Yeah, I have. Let me tell you, that'll teach them a lesson. They'll never repeat crime. Isabel, fantastic. Great story. Thank you very much. We'll talk again tomorrow night. Isabel Oakeshott talks, brilliant international editor.